Welcome to Listen and Learn with Jay and Kay, where we challenge the status quo and add to what we know. I'm Jay.
And I'm Kay. Hi, everybody. Hi, Jay.
Hi, Kay. What's new in
Hi.
your world today? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you thinking about?
A bunch of things. But what I really wanted to tell you about is something that I read in the New York Times last week. Do you get access to that newspaper? I
I
mean,
do.
sometimes I've tried to send people things, but if you're not a subscriber, you can't read it.
That's
But
right.
I don't know. Anyway, the article was called "How to Choose a Good PT."
Oh, that's a
Do
great,
you believe it?
specific to
Yeah.
our profession.
Yeah. So it
Oh,
got me thinking, and not just, so of course I read it. And
did you
so
learn
I can
anything?
share a couple of things from the article, but what I really wanted to do was get thinking about what makes a good stroke therapist. And I thought maybe we could volley our thoughts back and forth about that. One of the first things that was mentioned in the article, interestingly, is that it talked about how physical therapy has been based on pseudoscience and has been passive, in the past. And that certainly was something that got debunked in the article. But another thing that got a mention that I just want to put out there is that, you know, we are an evidence-based profession,
For sure.
as is occupational therapy. But on average, in the medical fields, it takes 17 years for the science, the bench science, to be integrated into practice. Can you believe that?
I can, of course. I mean, when you think about proposals for research studies and for grant funding, that takes years often to process. And once you get that and begin to execute on your study and your research and collect all of the data and analyze it and, process
No, but
consents,
that
it takes
but
forever.
but it's not even yeah, but it's not even counting that. It's
Really,
like once the evidence is
once it's
published,
published.
it takes 17 years
Wow.
to be integrated into practice. So I guess I just bring that up first because it's taking us way too long to figure out what the evidence is telling us to do.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that makes a good therapist is somebody that follows the evidence and follows the evidence with some changes in practice quickly, but also somebody who's willing to be courageous enough to try things that aren't yet documented.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it wouldn't surprise me if that worsens yet given the pandemic and not only, less maybe research being conducted, less time spent reviewing it, maybe distractions from our usual practice and change to that practice to the point of fatigue throughout healthcare.
Mm.
And like you were saying, I would add to the literature and build in other technical knowledge. I mean, I think what makes a good therapist is someone who can demonstrate that they aren't just the average therapist. They demonstrate technical knowledge. They demonstrate kinesiological knowledge. When you go see a therapist, do they demonstrate doctoral knowledge? Do they examine you? Do they give you a therapy diagnosis? And yes, we should always be able to articulate in layman's terms what the information is we're conveying. But I feel like if you go see someone of that level of practice, they can also tell you exactly which muscle, which body part, the kinesiology behind it, and then further elaborate to ensure understanding among the clientele and your patient client population.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's a big platform for us here at NeuroPro, is that we are really looking at building and adding to the strength of knowledge for our therapists that we work with in terms of what they know about anatomy and kinesiology. It's just, it is evidence all the time. That has to be the most fundamental kind of knowledge to me that makes a good therapist.
I think the other thing is a question for all of us. I mean, this question and article that you read, I think not only helps the public and clients and patients determine who they should access or who they should approach in determining their therapist, but it's great for self-reflection. And as each one of us talking today and listening today and watching this thinks, reflect on what we would imagine as an above average or an expert therapist, and that helps us to set a course for our own development. Do we
Yes.
want to be generalists or do we want to be specialists? And what does that require?
Yeah. Right. So one of the things that the article did mention was that if you go to see a physical therapist, now I should think this works for occupational therapy too. So we'll just say a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and the treatment is more passive than active, they said run, get somebody else, because passive treatment is passe.
Yeah, well, and I would further go on to say that not only should it be active, but is it connected to your goals as a client? Is it salient? Not just increasing range of motion by a few degrees or strength by a few points on a scale or a standardized assessment tool, but do they understand how to examine and assess your ability to perform the functions and activities you wish? And so, I mean, it's not just exercise all the time, it's also golf or cooking or something else. And so, how do they show you that as they conduct this assessment or examination, that they also start to incorporate treatment intervention where you see almost some immediate understanding, improvement, learning, where your performance can start to begin its change and trajectory towards recovery?
Yes, exactly. I think that when patients work on something that is relatable, so I mean, I might be working on something with a golf. I work with a lot of golfers. I might be working on something that's not the golf swing, but it's still relatable. I mean, I can work on fine motor with a tee and a ball, and that's not swinging the golf club. That's not playing golf, but it's relatable. And I think that
That's
that's
right.
another one of the things in neuro pro education is that our treatments are very active and they're very centered on what the patient's passion is all about, what they want to do. I mean, I would not say that you could never lie a patient down to do something. Of course you can. You can do anything that as I told a patient the other day, if I thought spray painting you green would make you better, I'd go get the spray paint, you know?
Right.
Um, so it's that thing of entering territory, trying things that, going where no one else has been with the patient, because that's the thing that I find makes the difference. I always get patients who've seen a number of therapists because I get them after they've been dismissed. And I think it's my willingness to try something that other people have not been brave enough to try, not creative enough to try. And that's another trait that I really love in a great therapist is their creativity. That ability to think of things that nobody else has tried. The recipes will have all been tried, but if you have the creativity to take what somebody wants to do, something they love, and then turn it into something no one else has ever thought of, that is the stuff of great therapy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, like most industries, if you are looking for the best, if you are looking for something that's top quality, I think that's always different than the average and the norm. And so, as a client, if you see that your experience with a therapist is different than your understanding of physical or occupational therapy, if you look across the room and your experience is different than the client or patient or seeing the therapist beside you, I think seeing that creativity, that active problem solving and engagement in your problems and your recovery demonstrates that you're getting something different than the norm and the average. I would almost, I suppose you could even interview or ask your therapist, what is your philosophy to therapy and to treatment? What is your framework and your approach? And if they can articulate and express a story to you that helps you understand how your treatment and your therapy is going to be different, I think that their interest in you and in creating new solutions and recovery and solving your problems is already telling you that they're courageous enough to be the best therapist that you can have.
Yeah, right. So I think we would just want to encourage each other and all other therapists in our field to go out there and be active, creative problem solvers and really keep working on your base knowledge of kinesiology and understanding the human movement system, because that will make your therapy great. Those are some of the great ingredients.
Yeah.
Um,
I think, just to
so,
add to that, I think that, those of you who ascribe to the same philosophy as us, I think that you do want to be out there providing your specific clients with attention.
what is that?
I don't know.
Did someone enter your room?
I'm not sure.
Help. Oh, sorry.
No, I was
Sorry
just
for
going
the
to say,
interruption.
speaking of attention, I think that, as those therapists who want to be creators, creative, innovators, and problem solvers, the time that you have with patients, give your full attention to those patients. They need our expertise and not always the machines or other people in our clinics or like I said, the paperwork tools, etc. Those could be things that are adjuncts, but when we're with the patient, give them the best therapist, because you are
Ooh,
that therapist.
full attention. I like that one
That's
to
right.
add on at the end. Hey, speaking of full attention, I think that maybe we're going to, maybe we should take August off. I think people are
Summer
busy getting their
holidays,
holiday in, busy getting ready to go to school.
for
August
sure.
seems to be a very busy month for people. You're going to be out of town. I know I'm going to be out of town. So, shall we sign off here until after Labor Day, maybe?
Yeah, I think let's reconvene in September. Certainly, we have several episodes now that we welcome people to watch or rewatch or share with
Yeah.
their colleagues, and we always invite comments too. So while we take a little hiatus for the summer holiday until September, please put your comments, especially on this discussion. I'd love to hear from our viewers and listeners. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with what we said? And what are your own thoughts and ideas and questions about what makes the best therapist?
Great. Well, Jay, have a good August. Stay safe out there in your travels. Anybody else, have a good end of summer. And we certainly in the desert are hoping for fall. We don't really have that. We only have two seasons, summer and less summer.
Well, I guess we'll chat again in less summer then.
Thank you. See you then.
All right. Take care.
Bye.